Well, in the Philippines, we have a trade-related technical assistance program, and it's a fairly standard model, and we're actually now in the second phase, so the second project. When I say standard model, you have a component on trade policy, a component on trade regulation, and a component on trade facilitation, which for us means working with the Bureau of Customs. Now, very immediately, you've got something interesting, because once you go into the area of customs, from other players in the panorama of development's point of view, you're talking revenue enhancement, and you're talking the governance issues of corruption. Whereas, of course, we're coming from that from an angle of trade facilitation originally. But already you've got a crossing of interest there, which take you into needing to be able to understand very well, firstly the context, and then the actors and what might motivate them, so as to be able to see where could this go and what scope there is for actually achieving anything. In the course of our project, of course, we had delivered all those other things in terms of helping them to develop systems, with one particular driver of change, one champion of this, very, very much in charge on the Bureau of Customs side, but ourselves always asking ourselves, where's it going to go? And for instance, if this guy leaves, who's going to make it happen? What am I talking about? I'm talking about these things like an integrity action plan we help them to develop. On paper, wonderful. An approach to reforming their human resources, so that instead of having political appointees into an organization, which might look quite lucrative and therefore be a nice organization to work for, a proper recruitment system based on technical skills and ability. These things can be designed, and then you can talk about them for a very long time. What's going to actually make them implemented in an environment where there must be a lot of resistance and vested interests at all levels with regard to whether that kind of thing can go forward. And more broadly as well, what motivates the government to want to do these things? And there we go back to that question, are we talking trade facilitation, are we talking revenue enhancement? Or the new player that's come in since the elections last year, are we talking also a government whose main platform is fighting corruption? That President Aquino came into office with the slogan, Kung walang corrupt, walang mahirap. No corrupt people, no poor people. So it's driving a government agenda as well there, which is quite exciting for us. It would be, in this context, difficult to say one would have done anything differently. Because I think in the context in which we work, in the political and governance context where we started, it was probably absolutely right to say where we can go first of all is with the kind of non-threatening technological focus. At the same time as building up relations, building and doing the kind of consultancy work which delivers blueprints and plans for making deeper governance-oriented changes which affect people like the frontline staff who have their own interests, which affect political economy questions, laying the groundwork for that. So I think our approach was actually, and I hope I'm not saying it was serendipitously the correct one, I'm saying it was right because we got it right there. And this is my predecessors, by the way, in terms of being in the Philippines. And I think the timing of the exercise, the reason why we enthusiastically said, yeah, come and do this exercise here and please look at this aspect of our TRTA program, was because in our political context, with the election having happened, with the forces at work in government and indeed in the economic situation of the Philippines, and therefore what the government had to do with its development plan and the focus it has on revenue enhancement, the BOC being in the mind of the of the Secretary of Finance and so on. It was the right moment to have this solid look at, are we actually going to see a situation in which there could be some traction and we can really look forward here, rather than say, well, we've done what we as a donor can help the government of the Philippines with, it's up to them now. Probably we're looking at a scenario now where we can start planning for something sophisticated for the future.